Good morning, everybody. TG Watkins here. It is May 10th when I'm recording this. I hope you guys are doing well. The market is taking a bit of a break. That is why I titled this one Taking a Pause for Breath. So hopefully you guys get the play on words. If you don't, then come over here. This is the video that I recorded earlier in the week about how to trade the market using breadth. So this is something that's really important. I've been teaching about it. I use it, and I'm going to show you a little bit about it today, but go back over to this video. I'll have the link in the description so you guys can get a longer video about how I use this. So that being said, we have a big week ahead. I think that we're going to be kind of sideways. I think it's going to be quiet until it's not, and we're going to have to figure out if it's actually going to be this week that happens. And then I'm going to show you Tesla and how I think Tesla is going to be a roadmap for how the market might possibly go, especially if we are going to break out to the upside to hopefully 6,000. So we're going to have to see if that works out. I'll show you the way that it will and the way that it won't, and then we're just going to have to see, because as I said, this week is kind of big. We've got CPI, we've got PPI, we've got consumer sentiment. Jerome Powell is speaking somewhere in the middle, and of course, I think we all know that we have Trump's representatives, Besant, in Switzerland, meeting with China representatives about the trade deal negotiations, tariffs, all that. And on top of that, Trump has already started kind of float the idea out there that he's like, hey, maybe 80% tariffs sound about right. Of course, this is down from the 145% tariffs. Now, this isn't zero, and this isn't like, oh, we've all made up, but it is a way to kind of show out there like, okay, hey, look, we're starting to talk about lowering these tariffs. We're starting to talk about bringing this stuff down. We're starting to talk about ways that we can actually get around this, and we're willing to make a deal, okay? So now, whether it's he made the first deal or they made a first deal or somebody caved or whatever, look, this is negotiations. Everybody wants to look strong, so I'm just not going to play into the politics of that whole thing. But what the news is and what the constructive situation is that we are meeting in person with Chinese representatives in a neutral spot. And Trump has already said, hey, yeah, we can start lowering some stuff. Let's make a deal. We know that's happening. We also had the UK come out. We made a deal with them, and we got a bunch of other countries that are lined up. Basically, the way I'm kind of thinking about it, we'll see if this is right, is that if tariffs took the market down, then trade deals are going to make the market go up. Okay, I feel like the worst is behind us, and now we're getting some good news that kind of rolls out. And so we're gonna have to see if that happens and keeps moving forward in that case. Let me lower this down a bit. So that's what I'm looking at. Let's get that out of the way. And then as far as the things that we're going to be discussing today, remember this is for educational purposes only. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button, because if you guys are interested in videos like this is how you get it, is by hitting the like button, subscribing, and if you want, come on over to the Moxie room, simplertrading.com/Moxie. You can see that up here. This is where we are making these kind of killer trades, okay? I know the market's been up, so obviously the market's been easier to trade, but we've been just killing this thing, and we've been really riding the market back and forth very, very well. So actually, before I do that, let me talk real quick, because so as you guys know, that today's video is pausing to take a breath, and so we'll show you that. But really what I'm seeing in through here is that the market came up here, hit our target of 5,700, like to the dot, perfect. And then what I was looking for is I wanted to see price pull back into the daily 8 and the daily 50, something around there, and I figured that would also be about the hourly 50. And that was, I was ballparking, you can see here, I was ballparking that to be 55.75, but it actually hit 55.85. In fact, I think later in the day on FOMC day, it hit 55.80. So yeah, close enough. That's close enough for government work, right? But that's what I was looking for here, is I wanted it to hit the daily 50 and the daily 8, and it sure did that. So I'm pretty happy about how things are going and where this is, and the fact that the market popped up a little bit on the UK deal, and probably just some news that, hey, he's meeting with China and kind of like stuff like that, basically, more talk. That's great. But the market is not quite ready to get going yet, and I think next week, this coming week, is going to be a big deal, because we got a lot of information coming out. The market wants to see that inflation is not going up and not getting carried away, because that means that leaves the door open for the Fed to potentially lower rates sometime in the future. So that gives them opportunity. And then we just want to make sure that things are doing well. And then I think the next big thing is going to be whatever happens with China, tariffs, negotiations, deals, that kind of thing. And then I think the thing that's being underreported is that Trump is going to Saudi Arabia this coming week as well. And I think that there might be some deals and conversation and positive trade news that comes out of that also. So yeah, lots of stuff that is out there that I think should be interesting. Now let's take a quick second Remember FOMC, we had that. So Jerome Powell basically was very, very tight-lipped about what what he was saying. He didn't really want to say much. He's not going with Trump and saying, okay, we're going to lower rates. He's going to hold off till the last possible minute to lower rates. Okay, he doesn't. He thinks the market's in an okay place. He thinks the economy's in an okay place, whether it is or not. He doesn't really want to play into Trump's hands. And yeah, he's just going to hold that off as much as possible. So that's why the market didn't really do anything on that day. Now, if you remember, though, at the end of the FOMC day, Trump rescinded the chip restriction act, whatever that thing was. And so now semiconductors can now sell to more places throughout the world. We are in SOXL. So if you look at this, our SOXL equity position is up 54%. We have SOXL calls. They have been bouncing around between 150 to 240%. I decided to cash some in at 150% on Friday, just in case, because we're running out of time on this thing. We have like 7 days left until they expire. And that really means that I'm banking on something big happening next week. So I do think something's going to happen, but I don't want to get caught with my shorts down or something like that. So we cashed in a little bit just to protect ourselves like that. But yeah, the semiconductor space I think is doing pretty well. We're having a great time with that. Yeah, tariff news, UK, China, covered that. And yeah, so other than that, guys, we have TSLL, that's the leveraged ETF of Tesla. Our equity position is up 40%. We have a Tesla call debit spread. Now, the sold strike really isn't doing much. It's down 100%, which is like $100. It's really not that much. So really, the long strike is up 160%. That's the big deal. So that we're doing well there. We're in BITX, that's up 43% on equity. And we're in Robinhood, this is the leveraged ETF of that. That's up 41%. And this is stock, guys. I mean, these are big numbers for stock. And then Reddit, we're up 10%, but then I did RDTL, which is the leveraged ETF of Reddit. And that pulled back a little bit further than I was expecting after earnings. So I did close that for minus 16%, but then we got right back in. So now we're back into RDTL, and I want to see if it's going to start moving back up this week. I think it does. I think it's going to. Looks pretty interesting. Okay. So let's get into the rest of the plan for today. We'll talk about the S&P. Basically, it's resting. I really do think that. I'll show you guys also with breadth what that looks like. We have come up not only to some weekly resistance areas, which is why I was targeting 5,700, but we've also come up to the previous price area. I mean, this was the first move down, and there was a lot of price congestion. It makes sense that price is going to stop here. It's a really thick area that people just aren't sure if we're going to be able to break through yet. So I would like to see that if we're going to go higher, we're going to have to get through it. It doesn't mean that we have to go straight up through there. It means we can rest a little bit. This is healthy for the market, okay? Because if things just keep going, it's going to be unsustainable. And the further that it goes up without resting, the faster it's going to come back down whenever it does. So the fact that it's up here and kind of chewing through some stuff, that's okay. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be in a straight line, okay? We don't know what exactly this range is. You can see here, it could be in this range, which means that next week, it could come back down a little bit, and as long as it doesn't really fail, I think that's going to be okay. So anywhere in this range is going to be acceptable. Whether that means it's going to hold the daily 8, or if it's going to come down and come down closer to the daily 50 again, or maybe even close to the daily 21, something like that's going to be okay as long as this doesn't start to really fail and roll over. If this starts to come down like this and then starts to fail, yeah, that's going to be a problem. But if it just kind of does this and then we see if we can resolve to the upside, that's going to be okay. And that's why I said we are okay with a range like this. I'll show you some of the individual tickers that are doing something like this and how that they have resolved to the upside, especially Tesla, because I think Tesla is a really good example and a really good roadmap for what we're looking at through here. And then let me show you breadth. While we're here, that'll be a good spot. The video that I put out mid last week, talking about breadth, go check it out because then it'll make a little bit more sense. Basically, we started taking off a few positions here when 20-day SMA breadth hit 86%, okay? And you can see that pretty much nailed the top of the market for now. And I said, hey, we should expect the market to rest a little bit. And that's exactly what this has been doing. That's everything we've been looking at. This is what I've been talking to the Moxie subscribers. So if you guys are interested in getting these kind of real-time alerts and actually figuring out that we're doing this and taking action on time, you guys have to be in the Moxie room, because really that's where we do all the stuff. That's where I put all my information, education, and trades out there. And then I'm on the mic at least an hour every day talking to the subscribers and just walking through the market. So that's where I said I think we have a near-term top, okay? But that doesn't mean I think that we're at the top of the market. The top of the market is usually when the 50-day SMA gets upward of 80, 85, maybe even 90%, okay? So when this thing starts to approach 80%, then we better be watching out for a bigger, longer-term kind of pullback. It doesn't have to happen immediately. It just means like, hey, a lot of things are up, everything's up, and we're going to be running out of energy to the upside. So I think we still have some room there, but a little bit near-term break. So again, pausing to take a breath. Hope you guys find that amusing. So we look at that, and if we look at the NASDAQ, same stuff. Okay, it's going to be the same deal. You can see that the NASDAQ is up here. Now, it happens to be at the 200, fine, whatever it needs as resistance. It also previous price resistance right there. So it just makes a lot of sense that we're just running into some resistance. So let's give it some time. Sideways action is fine, and if it can resolve up, great. If it starts to come down and break down, yeah, okay, then that's going to be a problem. But I think it's going to be different news that if we're going to go down, I think it's going to be based on new news and different news that bad things are happening. And right now, it's kind of all good stuff, love them or hate them. I'm just saying that basically, the whole tariff situation is getting resolved. We're making deals, we're making progress, we're getting out of the whole thing that took the market down in the first place. So, take your politics, put it aside, and just understand what's happening out there, and then you can make money in the market. All right, if you look at the IWM, same basic thing. It's kind of right here into prior, I think right here. It's right into the prior area, running into resistance. So again, it's the same story. We're coming up here. Let's let it rest a little bit and see if we can go a little bit further to the upside. The Dow, basically the same kind of thing. They're all doing the same stuff. They're all kind of running into resistance. They've all made it back to the previous area before this thing really got wrecked. And so now they're coming up here. They're having to digest some stuff, and then we see if we can actually resolve higher. And you can see the SMH has actually been also really strong. I mean, we've made this thing all the way back to the 618, and it could use a break. Just like the S&P made it to the 618 retracement, didn't it? And you can see here, right to the 618, and you know what? Could probably use a little bit of a break. Now, I'm willing to give SMH and SOX a little bit of an exception because of that rescinding of the chips restriction thing. And I think the China situation, and then maybe some Saudi Arabia news. So just because we're taking a break, I am not going to be shorting this. Okay, I'm definitely not going to be playing anything to the downside. If anything, I'm willing to take some chop, because if any kind of news comes out, I think the news is going to be bullish on the market. So I do not want to be caught against the market. All right. So if things start to fall apart, fine, I can exit. But I definitely want to be prepared and have the opportunity that if the market just spikes to the upside, we're going to be ready and take that. All right. So that's what we're looking at. Showed you guys breadth. And if we look at the put call ratio, yeah, it's coming down. It's still coming down, which is good. But we are getting to a point where, it's getting close to where it could turn around, but it's still not there yet. It could go lower. So I'm not really going to say much about the put call ratio. And if we look at the VIX or the UVIX, this has also been very good for what we want. We want to see this thing continue to come down. And so far, the only little bumps right here is FOMC. Everyone is kind of like wondering what's going to happen with the FOMC, and is going to say something, is going to take it down, like what's going to happen. So VIX and fear was a little bit elevated right there, but you know what? Came right back down. And as long as this continues this way, I think the market can still go higher. I don't see anything yet that tells me that this wants to go higher, which is good. Okay, if we want the market to go higher, we want this to go down. So VIX looks the same way, basically. Now let's take a look at Tesla, and this is where I'm going to show you guys what I think to be the roadmap for the market going higher. Because remember, look at all these wins that we've been having. I've got basically one loss here with Reddit, but we're still in Reddit. And we've had really great wins with semiconductors, with Robinhood, Bitcoin, Tesla. I mean, we're all over Tesla, all over it. And if we look them through here, so let's say, right here, you guys see the same situation basically the market had bottomed in through here, and what did it do? It started to move back up, and Tesla's doing the same thing. But what did Tesla do? It ran right into resistance, just like the SPX, just like the NASDAQ. And then what did it do? It kind of came down, and now look at it, it's breaking out from resistance. Let me make this a little bit thicker so you can, yeah, there you go. Now we can really see it. That's okay, because the market, think about this with the SPX, the market came up like this, and it's kind of come down a little bit, it's kind of come up a little bit, and then it took a little bit more of a dip, and then what did it do? Broke out to the upside. It is now past resistance, it's on its way, we have big volume coming in. Granted, there might have been news, it's an individual stock, okay? But if the market can do something like this, and again, probably based on news, CPI, PPI, maybe Jerome Powell says something, maybe Besant comes out and says something with China, maybe something comes out with Saudi Arabia. Any of this stuff, as long as the market basically just chops sideways and then we get something good, then I think the market's on its way to 6,000 if we can do it, okay? So I think this is a great example, and we have been in Tesla, we're doing well with it, and yeah, I'm targeting 350, 360 for Tesla. And of course, like I said, it's not going to do it on its own. This is the other thing, and I've said this in my previous weekend videos, is Tesla's not going to go up without the market, Bitcoin's not going to go up without the market, and the market's not going to go up without either of these. And the fact that Bitcoin keeps going up, Tesla keeps going up, it's fine that the SPX is resting. It's fine, okay? So I do think that the market is looking pretty good out there. So let's take a look at other names that we're trading. TEM. Now, I know everybody knows this is kind of the Nancy Pelosi trade and all that stuff. I don't like to trade earnings. I will rarely hold through it sometimes. So this one I waited till after earnings and actually gave us a pretty good opportunity right there after earnings before the day closed. We got in it and then it screamed the next day, pulling back a little bit today. That's totally fine. We have a Moxie price trigger on the daily chart. And for those of you who don't have the Moxie indicator yet and you're looking for it, look at these symbols. Look at the sign. Look how right on cue that is for the daily chart. And this was the setup that was giving me heads up into it. Look at that divergence, price going down, but the Moxie indicator going up, and look at the price trigger right there. These are really good setups. The Moxie indicator is amazing when it comes to timing. And if you don't have the Moxie indicator, you're missing out on this stuff. So go to simplertrading.com/Moxie, and that's where you guys can pick up the indicator and any of the classes that I have. The classes are now available if you want them. Go pick them up, come into the room, and then check it out. Now, TEM is kind of in the AI space. QBTS is in the quantum space. Now, I didn't trade this. This thing, like I said with the market, look at this. With the market, notice how it's been going sideways, and then it gets news and it explodes. I think something like that could happen with the SPX. Now, there wasn't exactly an entry on this thing. You could see price was actually down a little bit going into earnings. This was a complete earnings play. So I wasn't able to trade this. I don't really like to just jump in before earnings. I just don't have any edge for that. But the fact that this is up, I mean, this looks good. I mean, this is like risk on type activity. Something like QBTS, quantum, is starting to move up. I think that the market is in fine condition. It seems to me like the market is just going sideways, digesting some stuff, waiting for news, and probably wants to go higher. I don't think it wants to go down. I mean, when you get names like this, if we get Bitcoin, we get quantum names, they're moving up. Like, it feels like risk on to me. So yeah, QBTS, pretty good out there. And then speaking of Bitcoin and BITX, well, here we are trading BITX. It's a leverage ETF of Bitcoin. We got in down here. We took some profits here, and now we're here. And my target was about 55, and we're at 52, 52 and change. I think we're going to keep going a little bit higher, and we'll probably hit my 55 target. Now, we'll see if I actually take some off at that point, but maybe. So far, we've at least pocketed 26%. If it goes up to here, that's going to be almost 50%. That's not too shabby for stocks. Okay, so yeah, really happy about what's going on there. And then in the room, we've been talking about some of the Bitcoin miners. Now, I've been slow to want to trade some of these, mostly because we have a pretty full load of the names that we are trading already. But I have been discussing these in the room. I have been guiding the subscribers into names like this if they're interested, because just because I'm trading 7 names doesn't mean you can't trade 20 names. Okay, you guys can do what you want. I'm here for education, to show you what's happening and to guide you into different positions and trades that you want. But anyway, this is what I've been saying. I said, hey, look, if Bitcoin's going to be going like this is risk on. So that means the Bitcoin miners look like they're finally ready to go. And once again, look at the Moxie price trigger right on cue. And you can see even down here, that was the first one. That was the test of support. And then this was a trampoline move. Basically, a trampoline move is a buy the dip situation. And you can see there's just this perfect stuff. And we were discussing Riot and Mara and Hut and a bunch of the other crypto names and Coin. And I said, yeah, these things all look like they're doing just fine. And Mara had earnings and it's up huge. This is good stuff. They're on their way. If these names are coming up and doing well, I think the market's going to be doing well. I just kind of don't see it any other way. So yeah, great stuff. Great stuff from here. Okay. How about this? Dave. Wow. Okay, now we were trading Dave right in through here. We were trading this move, and then the whole market collapsed. So, and amazingly, again, I was a little bit focused on some other stuff. This was a really good name because you can see here. Look at the entry. Here's price down. Here's the Moxie indicator up. There's your Moxie price trigger, and this was a great trade. If I was in this going into earnings, like if I had my entry here, which it would have been, and I would be willing to probably roll the dice going into earnings. That would have been one of the few times in the exceptions it's like, okay, I have some cushion, fingers crossed it works out, let's give it a shot. So I would have had to already be in order to let this thing go. I wouldn't enter this just right before earnings, but my goodness, look at this thing. Okay, so yeah, we used to be trading this name. It got away from me. I haven't been paying attention to it. Then I went through my watch list and I saw this. I'm like, holy cow, that looks amazing. So not only is this a great name, it means that it's back on the board. You don't want to go buy it now. It's obviously too high. But now keep it on your list. Start looking for other places. Look for some opportunities to get into something like this. Go sell some puts or whatever. But once again, this is more evidence that the market looks good. The market looks strong, because when the market was not strong, this is what happened. And now look where we are. Okay, so I think the bad stuff is in the rearview mirror. All right, well, we'll see if those are my famous last words and how that actually holds up to history. And here's another one, Hood. Great name. And this one we have been all over. We actually got into this thing right there. Okay, so again, I had a little bit of cushion during going into earnings. I figured let's roll the dice, and sure enough, it's up here. We're in Robin, which is the leverage ETF of this thing, and we're doing great. And once again, look at the divergent setup. Price down, Moxie indicator up. There's your Moxie price trigger. We have been seeing setups and triggers all over the place. In fact, there are too many names right now to trade. I can't find it. I just can't trade enough of them. Okay, so it's very exciting that we're kind of back in that situation. And here's another example of how I think the market's going to resolve. Notice, just like Tesla, we had Hood come up like this, and then what did it do? It basically pulled back, chopped a little bit, tested the 21, and then took off. What if the SPX did that? Maybe it tests the 21, maybe it just goes sideways for a little bit, but I think we're going to resolve to the upside. So hopefully I've shown you enough big names, things where it's risk on, and you're seeing stuff like this that look exciting for the market. So once again, if you guys are interested, come on over, simplertrading.com/Moxie. We're having a great time in here. I know we've got some happy campers in the trading room. I hope you guys are doing well. I know it seemed a little bit scary when all the tariff stuff was going on. Not a lot of people were around. I had a class that I was selling and people were just like not interested and like, oh my gosh, the market's falling apart. Well, I feel like you guys missed a really big opportunity, okay? Because this was a huge buy the dip opportunity. Look at the gains we're making. And if you feel like you're missing out, this is your opportunity to get in, because I think the market's going to continue to do well. And, politics aside, I think the market's going to do well because you see examples like this where the market really is like moving up, okay? There is a big difference between the market that is not doing well and a market that is doing well. And it sure looks to me like the market's doing well. So come on board, come over to simplertrading.com/Moxie. I'd love to see you in the room. When you come in, say hi, we'll talk to you. I'm in the chat room all the time, and I'm on the mic, on camera, at least an hour every day, if not more, okay? So we'll love to see you guys in there. Hope you are out there. We would love to guide you through this market, and have a great time. We're having fun in there. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Take care.